Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. About 71% of the Earth's surface is covered in water. It's also a fact that only 5% of the waters have been discovered by scientists, so we can let out our imaginations and let them run wild while thinking about what could be in the deepest parts of the sea. It's also not surprising that some weird things are found from time to time. Here are the 10 most terrifying objects that have been found in the deepest parts of the ocean. But before we get into that, like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 10. A fleet of military ships. Let's start with one of the most horrific events in Japanese history, other than the atomic bomb. This attack on Japan was one of the most fatal blows by Americans, Operation Hailstone. A surprise attack on Japan's Imperial fleet during World War II sank hundreds of military battleships, aircraft carriers, and submarines. It happened on February 17th and 18th, 1944. Aerial strikes, surface engagements, and submarine attacks brought devastation upon anything Japanese on and near Truk, which was the main place getting attacked. The most damaging aspect was the loss of 270 aircraft. For that, they had been the force that checked back American shipping. Japanese naval losses were also significant. Some of the ships were destroyed in Anchorage. A total of 191,000 tons of shipping was destroyed. The vehicles sank off the coast of the Caroline Islands in the South Pacific over the course of 2 brutal days in 1944. Referred to as Japan's Pearl Harbor, the event killed thousands of soldiers, and the wreckage remained undiscovered until the legendary Jacques Cousteau explored it in the 1960s. Today it's called Truk Lagoon, and it's one of many of the world's most bizarre tourist attractions. Number 9. Remains of a ship from the Tang dynasty. Long before the European powers were sailing the world, the Chinese were doing trading with what is now the Middle East, and Belitung was on a trip from Africa to China around 830 CE. It was discovered by fishermen in 1998, with speculation it was lost in a storm. The main discovery is a treasury of items from the Tang dynasty, with gold coins along with statues, bowls, and other artifacts, many in styles that have never been seen since that period. There's also the ship itself, shedding new light on the trading between China and the Middle East, and a terrific artifact in its own. Why was it in this spot? It's unknown, but from a historical place, the wreck is a true trove of treasures in many ways. The findings from this shipwreck were estimated to be worth around $80 million. Number 8. The 7 Temples of Mahabalipuram. There are many famous myths in the world of travel, but one of the most intriguing lies in the southern India town of Mahabalipuram. There is one temple that was built in the 7th century that's believed that there were 7 temples known as the 7 pagodas of Mahabalipuram. The myth states that the gods became envious of their creations because of the way luxury life they were living, so they brought forth a tsunami to wipe out and submerge 6 of the temples, letting only one stand as the shore temple. During a recent expedition spearheaded by best-selling author Graham Hancock, one of the lost temples was discovered off the coast of Mahabalipuram. Foundations, broken pillars, steps, and scattered stone blocks were just a few of the many findings that indicated the existence of a large area for exploration and investigation. This is one of the most groundbreaking discoveries in the region. It provides strong evidence for the validation of stories that have been passed down through generations, as the myth is as old as the 7th century. Number 7. UFO shipwreck. People who believe that we've been visited by extraterrestrials would be more inclined to accept the idea that an object found by Swedish divers on the floor of the Baltic Sea in 2014 came from outer space because it was reported to be UFO-shaped. On December 10, 2014, the website Earth We Are One published an article claiming a UFO shaped like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars had been discovered at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. Professional diver Stefan Hogerborn, part of the Ocean X team which was exploring the thing, said some of the team's cameras and satellite phones would refuse to work when directly above the object and would only work once they'd sailed away. Rumors about the Baltic Sea UFO began circulating after Ocean X returned from an expedition in the summer of 2011 with an interesting sonar image. But the sonar image was very blurry, and no one could actually confirm that the thing was really a UFO shipwreck. Skeptics and most scientists believe the disc-like object is nothing more than a rock of unknown origin, possibly a meteor. Number 6. Remains of the Apollo 13 mission. When a rocket is launched into space, it's one of the most fascinating achievements for a country, It all started with America launching the first rocket which traveled to the moon, known as Apollo 13. When a rocket gets out of the stratosphere to lose the amount of weight, it ejects parts of it which are directed to fall into the ocean. No one really cares about these parts. Well, except for the billionaire Jeff Bezos. The parts of the Saturn V rocket blasted the module into space and were ejected, falling into the ocean. Bezos paid to salvage the two rockets from the ocean floor in 2013. They're obviously not in the best condition after being fired, falling and spending several decades underwater, but they still have value by being attached to this great event and the promise of a place in museums to make this an intriguing modern-day find. They're worth around $10 million. The historic engine pieces were discovered a whopping 14,000 feet underwater and were given as a gift to Seattle's Museum of Flight in 2015. Number 5. Artifacts of the Roman Empire. In October 2014, divers off the coast of Italy discovered the remains of a shipwreck. Although the object had already been detected before the dive, it was only after reaching the location that the team realized the magnitude of their discovery. The ship, or whatever remains of it, was laden with well-preserved artifacts that were primarily identified with the time of the Roman Empire, which was almost 2,000 years ago. The boat was 15 meters long and believed to be either a merchant ship or a military vessel. Terracotta pots were discovered in the wreckage, indicating that the cargo had included olive oil and wine. The ship is assumed to have been an active transport vessel between Rome and Carthage from 2018 BC to 2010 BC. It was named Paneria III, and it has provided significant insight into the dynamics of ancient trade in the Mediterranean as well as daily life at that time. Number 4. The Lost City of Hailstone. Among the most famous Greek cities, Hailstone is the one that often escapes our notice. The Greek civilization is known for its prowess in cultural, academic, and social spheres, from its loose collection of city-states to the famous Olympic Games. It's one of the most historically important regions of the world. Situated in Archaea, in the northwestern part of the Peloponnesian Peninsula, Hailstone was one of the leading cities in ancient Greece. Due to unknown natural factors, Hailstone was completely obliterated in 373 BC, only to be rediscovered in the 19th and 20th centuries. Many theories existed about its submersion and possible location in the Gulf of Corinth. However, it wasn't until 2001 that a preserved Hailstone was found in an inland lagoon under a layer of silt. In 2012, the location was finally confirmed by the destruction of the silt layer, but the myth still holds that the city was destroyed by the wrath of the patron god Poseidon. Number 3. Biggest pearl ever discovered. A fisherman in Porto, Philippines, found the treasure of a lifetime on his job. One day he went out fishing. When it was evening, he was about to go back home and he tried to pull the ship anchor, but it was stuck, so he had to dive into the water. What he saw was that the anchor was stuck to a rock and a clam. He took the clam back home, not knowing what it was when he reached it. He opened it, and to his surprise, he found a pearl inside. He thought, well, that's a good sign, so he used to look and touch the clam every time he went out fishing, as he thought it was a good luck charm. It wasn't until 10 years later that people found out the fisherman had the biggest pearl ever to exist. It was quickly showcased in a museum, and the estimated worth is $100 million. Not much is known about the fisherman, but he was paid a huge chunk of money and became very rich, but he probably wished he'd gotten it 10 years sooner. Well, better late than never. It really tells us about the things that are inside the oceans. And with that, it's time for today's subscriber pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber. If you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it on a future video. Number 2. This picture seems to be photoshopped, as we couldn't find anything related to it on the internet. We get the idea behind the edit, as a lot of shipwrecks have been discovered in the oceans, and some of the findings are just really weird.
I saved the best for last, but first, I have a quick challenge that takes only 5 seconds to complete. If you can leave a like and subscribe within the next 5 seconds, you'll get 10 years of amazing luck. Just try it, it really works.
Number 1. If you think computers were discovered in the late 20th century, then we're here to tell you you are very wrong. Today, computers are ubiquitous, but a few thousand years ago, they were pretty hard to come by. The oldest known computer was discovered among a shipwreck at the bottom of the sea off the Greek island Antikythera. A group of fishermen made the find around the turn of the 20th century. The rusted-over device, possibly invented between 200 and 70 BC, was finally excavated in 1902 and is now known as the Antikythera mechanism. It's termed as the first known computer to mankind and was probably invented in China. That's our list of the 10 most terrifying objects found in the deep sea. What's the most fascinating finding according to you? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.